Hi, I'm Kitty from Totally Beads, and I want to show you how to do these lovely big stitch earrings. They are built on a looped air wire, and you're gonna add a number of beads first in brick stitch and then net it right on the bottom. If you just look at these two, the crystals are exactly the same, but by using different color findings and different color seed beads, they look entirely different, really. You can use I'm using crystal drops here, but you can use many different shapes of beads. You can use bugles. You can use a lot of different, and it only takes a few beads per earring, so you can use up odd bits of pieces from your bead stash. Now let me show you how are these made. The first thing you have to do is you thread your needle. Now you don't have to have too much thread for this project, but you want to have a generous amount so you don't have to come back and attach a new one. So the first thing what you're gonna do, I have probably about 4 feet of thread here and 3 of them is doubled up, so I'm just gonna make a knot right underneath it and leave about just under a foot tail, which I will work off at the end. So first what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna knot my thread on this air wire, just a normal knot, right over left, left over right, pull the first one tight. And then when I'm doing my second one, I'm going to take it right all the way down. Before I pull it tight, I'm going to pull it into position where I want my knot to be. So if you look at your air wire, this part is going to be at the back of your ears. So I want to start there. So, well, my knot is hidden then. So I'm going to, not right at the top, but just about there. I'm going to pull my knot quite tight. Now I'm going to hold on to my tail here and my air wire, and what I'm going to do next is pick up 2 of these Toho size 11 seed beads. Now Toho size 11 seed beads, or any size in Toho seed beads, are great. They're made in Japan and they're really uniform in size, so they are great for stitching projects like this. So they will be sitting next to each other nice and evenly. So I slide both of my seed beads down. I'm going to come through to just under the loop, pull it up, but I'm not letting my beads come through the loop, under the loop as well, because what I want to do, I want to go back down on this second seed bead. Now when you start your brick stitch, first you always pick up 2, and then you're only going to pick up 1 bead all the way along. So now I'm just picking up 1 bead. I'm going under my loop on the air wire and pulling my thread up, so my bead, see, as it's sat into position right next to the one before, and I'm just going to come through this one more time, and that locks it into place. Just pull this tight. Now you need to go along and repeat this all the way until you have 14 beads in total. So right, I'm just going to add my last bead on this row. Take it up and come through that seed bead. Now before I go into adding the second row, what I want to do, let me just take this through. So what I want to do is to make sure my beads sitting to the center here. So I'm gonna just slightly pull it right nicely to the center. Just double count it, I got 14 beads on there. That's right. So now I'm ready to go to my second row. So I'm going to start adding these crystals. Now the only thing you have to, because it's the crystal dropper, it's got like a thinner at the top and then a fatter at the bottom. The only thing you have to think about here is how they're going to sit once you put them on your thread. So I want to pick up one by the thinner end. I'm going to pick up a seed bead, and I'm going to pick up a second one by the thicker end, and you will see why. Now we're going to do brick stitch again, but instead of going under the loop, now as you can see at the bottom here, you got thread pops there. So all I'm going to be trying to do now is to catch one of these thread puffs and pull it up. So once I pulled up, because I picked them up in a different direction, they're both going to sit the right way how I want them to sit. So thinner at the top, thicker at the bottom. I caught the thread, and again with brick stitch, what I have to do, I just have to go back down through this crystal and pull it tight. So they're gonna sit side by side just there. Now when I'm doing my next one, I'm gonna pick up a seed bead first, then I'm gonna pick up another crystal by the bottom end and go along, catch the loop further up of the previous row. And going back down. Now when you do this row, because these are different size beads than the one you just used, you don't have to catch every single loop from the previous row. Sometimes you can skip one to get a nicer and even finish. Now repeat this all the way along. I'm probably going to skip one in the middle. I think that's what I did before. You need to do this until you have 12 crystal drops sitting side by side. Right, so I got 11 crystals here, and going back, remember your first bead was a little bit of a wonky bead. So what you have to do here is, again, you pick up your seed bead and you pick up your crystal by the bottom. And instead of catching the thread here, we're gonna go through this very first seed bead, pull it up tight, then we're gonna go through the loop itself on the air wire. If I turn it around then, and then you're gonna go back down in the same seed bead and the crystal bead. So by doing this, that very first bead, we're just straightening it up and getting it caught on both sides to the air wire, so that sits nice and straight now. So we got so far 14 beads sitting here at the top, then we got 12 crystals sitting underneath them, and as we added these little seed beads between the crystal beads, they're gonna, well, they are picot beads now, but we can turn them and do a little bit of netting and add other beads to them. So the first thing you're gonna do, as you're coming out of this last crystal bead, I'm going to take my thread to the next seed bead at the bottom. Then I'm going to pick up one of these crystal beads and go through the next one, just to add a few more sparkles to my earring. So repeat this until you get all the way to the other side. You should have been using 10 crystals in total. Right, so I'm just adding my last crystal in here. Now what you need to do to turn your thread around, because I want to go back to the other direction. So I'm gonna go up to this crystal drop bead, what I have here, and then I'm gonna catch the loop right under this seed bead. And pull this tight, then come back down to the crystal beads, and the direction of your thread is changed. So now on my next row, I'm going to add seed beads. So I'm going to go through this seed bead and crystal bead, and I need to add, in this row, I just need to add one seed bead. So I'm going to pick up one seed bead, go to the next crystal bead, and pull it up. Again, another one, and pull it up. All the way along until you get to the other side. Right, so I'm just adding the last seed bead here, going to the last crystal. Now again, I need to change the direction of my thread. So I'm gonna go up through this seed bead, I'm gonna go up through the crystal and do the same thing what I did on the other side, is to go through this loop just right under the first two seed bead and come back down through the crystal. So the direction of my thread is changed. Now I'm just going to turn this around. What I what would like to mention to you is that you can stop anytime as you're adding the rows. You don't have to go all the way to add the crystals or the second crystals or the second 2 rows of seed beads. You can stop anytime, so you can make your earring as big as or as small as you want. So the last row I'm going to add to this earring is as I'm coming out of this crystal, I'm going to go through the next seed bead, crystal bead, and the seed bead, and I'm going to pick up 3 of the Toho size 11 seed beads, and then I'm going through the next seed bead just after the crystal rondelle, and again repeating this all the way down, adding 3 seed beads into your gaps. You can sort of see it where you need to go, because those seed beads what you added in the previous year, they stick out, they like a little bit of like a picot out from your bead waving. So repeat this until you get to the end. Now as I just did the last 3 seed beads, so I got to the end of my row. Now as you can see, these don't really sit straight, so we need to go back and reinforce the thread path here. So again, what I'm going to do, I need to like change the direction of my thread. So I'm going to go through this crystal bead, going up again, gonna go through the seed bead, then the crystal drop, through the loop between the 2 seed beads, which is sitting just on top of the air wire. Just gonna turn it around, back down to the crystal, then the seed bead and the crystal bead. So to make these sit straight, what I'm going to do is to go through, if you see this little picot edging here, I'm going to go through the first 4 seed beads. So there's 1, 2, 3 down to the picot edge, then 1 more. Then what I'm going to do is miss out these, what would be the 5th one, which is between the 2 crystal rondelle beads, and I'm going to come back up the 3 seed beads added in the previous step. So what you do is just to go through the 3 seed beads added in the previous step. You don't go through the seed beads which was done in a previous row. And by doing this, you're pulling these little picots together, and they're just going to sit nice and straight. So as you can see, I already done a couple here, but they're just sitting nice and straight. So that's it, I got to the end of the row, and with that you assembled your earring. Now all you need to do now is to knot your tails off and work your thread off. So to do that, you could do a couple of things. You could do a 1 thread knot. A 1 thread knot is when you, like if I'm coming out of that seed bead, I want to do a knot between those 2 seed beads. So I'm going to catch the thread and pull it up, but before this loop disappears, I'm going to take my thread through this loop, and as you can see, as I'm pulling it down, that's going to form, just make sure it goes in the right gap, a white little knot on my thread. Then weave your tail into your work, and that's it, you're done. Thanks for watching, see you later. Check out the other videos on this playlist to learn more techniques just like this.